Guys,
Derek, what do you like about your team's development since you've taken over? What areas of the game have they grasped?
we're defending better, way more committed to defending correctly. I like to call it winning hockey, and a little bit of the frustrating thing, it isn't always translating to results, but I mean, our last two games against, we go into Vegas, we literally give up 7 to 8 chances against. We get a nice win. We're in Philly, against Philly on Saturday, same thing. We literally go up 7, 8 chances against, unheard of. And you weren't here yesterday. I went through Tampa. We do that once a year. Now, with that said, we don't generate a ton. In both those games, we only created 11 or 12. That's the way it's going to look. But our guys are buying into that and are committed to it. Can we play like that all the time? It's hard to. Not 2 weeks ago we gave up 28 versus Winnipeg, but won. But I think a commitment to that defensive side of hockey throughout our lineup, and it's starting to show.
When you were in Tampa, the way your team played Tampa, especially in the playoffs, you're the best checking team in the league. But it's not, when you talk defense, we're not just talking about your zone.
100%, yes.
As soon as you lose the puck, you were on it.
And that's something I've tried to bring here. A lot of our best defensive games in Tampa started in the offensive zone, on top of gapped, and we have D that can do it, and we've done it for the most part. And those games that we've looked very sharp defensively, it's looked like that. We're gapped. We're not letting them out of the zone. It's more zone time. So yes, it's a process. We're getting there, but our commitment from our guys, now we're starting to get fairly consistent. It's been pretty good, and I think that's a good sign going forward.
Derek, when you talk about that buy-in, how important is it to stay in range of the playoff race to kind of keep that for you guys?
Well, I think that's real. It's just that there's a little will to that. It's human nature, I think, staying in it. And fortunately, we're kind of still hanging in there. We've got the 3 games in hand on a few teams we're chasing. Again, that's why I want to be careful all year of talking about it with a group. And it's not even a disrespect to our group. It's this darn division and conference. It's a reality. It can demoralize you a little bit. Someone showed me a stat today where the West, everyone was within percentage points. That's motivation. Anyone can win that division, and we're not far off from those numbers. So it's just a reality of doing it for the right reasons. There's got to be a why. Obviously, chasing a playoff spot is a huge why, but that's why I've wanted to keep it, judging ourselves on ourselves, keep it within our group. I talked about we want it to be uncomfortable and awkward when we have a really poor performance. And I've mentioned a couple of late. The Winnipeg game, the first period in Pittsburgh, the first period in Columbus. We're not perfect by any means throughout, but if you look back at our group, those are the bad hockey that stood out. And we want that to be less and less. Concentrate on max effort. And for the most part, it's been fairly consistent, but there is something to staying in it.
Do you talk about it much with them? I mean, I remember it didn't sound like you did early in the season. You didn't want to bring it up with them or whatnot. You guys are. I mean, are you guys in it basically in your mind right now?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I think mathematically, of course, yes. But I think what we'd have to do is roll some games together. And it's just we have been unable to do that. And again, I think some of the effort's been there. I mean, we just talked about 2 really good efforts, 6 really good periods of hockey where we gave up very little. I'll even go back to the Arizona game. I mean, that's 3 straight games we played pretty well. We're 1-1-1. Not awful. I think that looks a lot different if we're 3-0 in that group. And now, we've just been unable to do that. We get a win against Toronto. We're unable to beat Columbus at home. We get a great win at Vegas. And again, it's not, we're close, we're in there. It's just us being able to flip these tight games. Probably a little reality of where we're at. I mentioned I hate going back to Tampa all the time, but when I said there was games, maybe 1 or 2 games, we only gave 7, 8 chances. obviously you're dealing with a different animal. Now you get in that 15, 16 range. Vasilevsky's there. Point, Cooch, Stammer make a play. All of a sudden, you leave that game feeling good about yourself. So it's exactly why I've tried to keep this group in the present and judging ourselves on ourselves.
Michael Rasmussen with Larkin and Raymond. What do you like about that one?
Ras is just, he's drove every line he's been on the wing. And it's not from a skill standpoint. He does a lot of the forechecking, getting pucks, keeping plays alive for whoever he's been with. And you saw that with Kopp. You saw that with Perron, that line. I just thought those two and Larks and Raymond are statistically, eye test, everything, our two best offensive players. And we just give them a little bit more. I've been wanting to go there with that. It feels like it could be something, but our lines have been fairly consistent in their play, and Ras was giving Perron and Kopp such a jump. I just felt coming off a game where we only generated one goal, I thought it was a chance to maybe just change some things around within our top 6, top 9.
So is the message heading into tonight's game, play the way that you have in the past couple of games, or play the way you did against Philly, or what do you want to say?
Yeah, I think, defensively, I mean,
Yeah.
we worked on offense all day yesterday, so we'll give up 6 tonight for sure. But we'll see. There's a balance to that. So, yeah, it's, of course, we want to stay consistent with our defensive performances the last couple games. But, it was a frustrating game the other day. Again, I've only coached a handful of games where you only give up 6 or 7 chances, and I've never lost a game in which you do that. So it's a little frustrating, but it's reality. It was a credit. Philly did the same thing. They put 11 chances. They blocked 31 shots. So it's just one of those really tight games, and they made the play, and they had a really good goalie performance. And so, there's, something's not working a lot, and it's our offense, so we worked on it. So we'd like to keep the same defensive effort, hopefully finish a little more tonight.
Derek, everybody in San Jose has got a lot of respect for Bob Booner, and he's got a lot of different varied experiences, whether it's working with defensemen, whether it's working with young kids like when he was with Windsor, or top players. Which area were you relying on him the most this season, and how is he integrated with you?
Everything. I've talked about this a little bit. I literally could not have drawn up a better resume for me. I'm not going to say it fell in our lap, because I really think he wanted to be here because we're trying to build something. He wanted to be here. Some of these young D we have, of course, Edmondson coming up through the organization, Mo Sider here. It's very attractive, Bob. But first-time head coach, I've watched John Cooper when he was young in his career, hire Rick Monis, some of these guys. Just experience is real, and especially Bob, not only on a player side of it, but the coaching side, and he's been vitally valuable for me. Obviously, running the penalty kill, running the D, but just the ins and outs of just the everyday being a head coach. So at first, on paper, it looked like it could be really good, but man, I'm very grateful for what he's brought us. So he's brought us a ton.
As a person.
Phenomenal press, but that's part of him. Phenomenal person, just good old school guy, hockey guy. I mean, like the other day, that Philly game, I know you guys weren't here, it stung. We've had some tough losses here. We've earned our losses, but we did so many good things, and I come out of that thing like I wouldn't say to Jack, and Bob's like, he's the first one. He's been there. He's like, he walks me through the numbers, how well we played, hang in there. It's just having that type of experience and having someone like that has just been extremely valuable.
Tyler Bertuzzi participating in morning skate. Will we see him in the game tonight?
No, great question. We were hoping he was out there. You can see still a little ginger on it. So he will hopefully be available for Montreal on Thursday.
And seeing Philip Zadina and Robert Hagg out there, are they nearing their return?
Yes.
Looking good?
Yeah, they're nearing return. Haig's actually on roster now, so he's available for us. Zadina true day to day. So I think yesterday was a hard practice, and he went through it very well. So yes, he'll be very close. Probably hope to see him on this trip.
Speaking to Kubalik recently, he said he's felt really comfortable here. Has there been anything that you and the coaching staff have done to kind of unearth maybe something out of this game, or what he's felt?
I think a lot of him is opportunity. Power play. He's got a lot of time with Larks, especially early on when we had those 4, 5, 6 forwards out. I just think opportunity, trust. He's playing with good players, significant roles. He's someone that can go up and down our lineup. So, and he has a lot of care in his game, which I think, for example, is he literally hand delivered them the second goal on a turnover below our goal line. Like, those things hurt him, and I know it hurts, but it's different. It's real with him. So I just think he's a good person, good human with good opportunity here, and it's worked.
Derek, I know you guys played him once, but just from video, what have you seen in Erik Karlsson this season with the resurgence or whatnot?
Well, the offensive is, it's world class. Our last game out, we talked about it, we scouted it. We'll talk about staying above him, being smart when you address him in the offensive zone. And he still had 4 points that game. We were fortunate to win, but, I know it's a cliche, but you just hope to contain him. Like any good offensive guys, you need to check them and not give them space and opportunity. So we'll try to limit those.
Former St. Louis guys, you guys have so many of them here. Did you see kind of the chemistry that carried, especially with a Perron and Sundqvist when they're on the power play together? Is that something you can see?
Yeah. Just the hands match too. Obviously, righty on the goal line. So that's something there. But yeah, all those guys, and I just like they came from a winning organization. Those guys have, they won a Stanley Cup together. There's relationships there. I think it just helps our group as we're trying to grow. So yes, there's definitely some chemistry there.